What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Friday show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. Better yet, probably bet your own games. Maybe some NBA Finals stuff, too. The Tigers, never a bad bet right now. Some Champions League soccer over the weekend, which I know Jason is on. Or swing by Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook on I-94 in Battle Creek and get the in-house sportsbook experience. You don't need to go to Vegas. It's better here. It's just better. At Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook, you can enjoy the entire Firekeepers Casino experience while you're there. And our Friday afternoon show also presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. That's just north of Frandor near the East Lansing border on East Saginaw. Unbelievable place. It just is. And I think anybody who's been there knows it. The food's tremendous. The drink selection's tremendous. The vibes are tremendous. And a great reservation system. If you're going to go on a weekend night, especially Thursday through Saturday night, I recommend going to caskandcompany.com, putting in a reservation. You want a booth, whatever you want, which side you want to be on, Cask & Company, which is or Front 43. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the company at Cask & Company and Front 43. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Bottom line is I could see that game going one way or the other.
I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
What's going on, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I'm excited.
You about what?
I'm going to a movie this weekend.
In a theater?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mission Impossible.
Is Tom Cruise in this one?
Jesus fuck.
Sorry.
What?
I don't know.
Is he in it? No. This
kidding.
is the first one they did. Yeah, dude. Sunday, nice theater.
I don't know what theaters are even doing today. Maybe they're showing old Mission Impossibles.
Not at all, man.
Yeah,
They have like the Studio C, and they have the other one. What's the other one?
NCG.
Yeah. ACG.
Yeah.
Elemento P. Wherever you're going to put it. I just want to watch a Mission Impossible. It doesn't do the same for me when I just watch it in the living room.
It's a good movie theater movie. It's a good whatever they are.
Equalizer, Mission Impossible, those things need to be seen in a theater. I still love going to a theater, but it's just the quality of movies that come out. It's just like, I'm not going to go see that in a theater.
The summer action movie might be like the Sunday print newspaper, the thing that really is around for a while that keeps things going. Like I think about like True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 90s when I was a teenager. I got to go see True Lies in the theater.
Yeah.
I got to go see whatever it might be, And Kindergarten Cop, which I love, you can watch at home. That's the difference. And that's the action
Well,
movie.
not back then. When it came out, you actually had to go to a theater.
Well, right. That was a better business
until
model.
Blockbuster had it or something.
Right. And then
I'm not going to go back to that where like people have the DVD thing where oh man, because I do remember the good old days of Blockbuster on a Friday night, Saturday, and you're in there with a parent and you're like, oh, you're picking out a video game or something like that. But I don't have that nostalgia. I need to go back to that.
I don't know what's better because don't get me wrong, I love being able to log on to Netflix or go through all my options in Xfinity and see what movies are on.
Of course.
But and there's lots of good stuff and there's stuff that happens. You don't have to go to a video store or whatever, and it's just right there. And you run into great movies and the experience is great. But there was something about number one in the old days going to a movie and the excitement about going to a movie that you really wanted to see, and that was the only way you could see it. Like I don't get that excitement about movies very often anymore. And then there was something really great about we're doing a movie night. Let's go to Blockbuster. Let's go to wherever video store was. And this is really up through like the early 2010s. And you would walk around, and when you ran into a movie that you wanted to see that you hadn't seen, that was such a great feeling. And that's maybe you get that when you're scrolling, and
so there's no copies. Like that would suck.
That did, yeah.
And you had to go up to the counter and ask, or you're sitting there, everybody that would bring theirs back, you'd be like, oh, can I look into the returns? See if it's in there. Like you have to be really passionate.
It's sort of like newspapers and the internet and all that. I get that there are lots of things about the internet that are better. But there is anybody who was around of a certain age, like opening the inside of the front page with all the baseball stats and the football standings and all the transactions like that, studying that page when you were like 10 years old, like that experience was just there's a joy that's lost in not having that, and I don't know that we're better for
But
it.
if I had a choice of a tablet with like all of the highlights and the scores when I was younger,
But
I think I might have been like, screw this newspaper business.
The thing is, you didn't know what you were missing, and I think the overall joy of life was better. That's all I'm saying.
You didn't at all. You didn't go. There's got to be a better way to get some sports scores.
Think about it. We were watching.
My dad's got a pager. He's getting sports scores through a pager. It was like $19.99 a month. Like, there's got to be a better way.
Oh man, when you got a page from a girl you kind of liked in the late '90s, the excitement of that, like, and you had to go find a phone. And think about, like, I mean, we talk about it all the time. We were watching scrambled softcore porn on Cinemax, and you'd wait for the TVMA to come across on HBO or whatever. It might be.
I'd take a PG-13,
whatever it was,
ready and fired, ready to go.
And you're looking, and so
we should not lump ourselves into the pager group, though. We're not that old.
Well, I wasn't. You
got a text. You got a what do they call it? A beep, a page.
I got a page.
You had a pager.
I had a pager like a senior in high school. We're talking 97, 96, 97.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pager era.
I understand. I just didn't know anybody in my class that had a pager. You were forward, man.
Yeah, it was a brief.
That's why I was kind of annoyed, because I'm like, don't let me into that. I never had a pager.
Well, when did you get your first cell phone?
Like 99, 98, 99.
Yeah, I got my first cell phone.
Little flip phone.
2000, summer of 01. So, yeah.
That's great. Hey, good for you. I just didn't know. I had no need for a pager. If you needed me, I had a house phone.
Yeah.
And I was at school sometimes.
And if you weren't at school, then you had to interrupt. Then you had to interrupt the call that was coming to the house phone later on that was going to say your son or daughter had one or more inexcused absences that day. That was always fun. Hanging, but I had
a deep voice, so I'd call in as my father, so I could get away with it.
It was always fun. Like, your parents would know you were up to something where you're just hanging around the phone a little too much at night, like trying to intercept a call. Like, why is he in the kitchen all the time?
It was great being a part of a divorced parent group where no one really gave a shit.
Yeah,
as long as I don't have to pay more money a month. Stand around with the phone all you want. I don't care.
Yeah,
don't study if you don't want. There
are lots of parenting lessons you learn from your parents, and if I ever have children, there are things I will know. One, that jazz band in fifth hour causes truancy because you don't want to improvise, and so that's not really your fault. That just is what it is, but you got to be aware of that. So that before we get into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions, I think it's a good batch. I think it's going to be a fun show. What we are betting this week, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Are you betting anything this weekend?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
Are we missing out on me personally, I haven't been betting the Tigers whatsoever because I just enjoy having the Tigers on. I'm betting golf. I'm losing money hand over fist betting golf, so I want to save some shekels and just watch the Tigers. But I feel like, are we missing out? I mean, the Royals this weekend, we're better than KC at home.
So here's where I'm at on this.
I feel like we're just missing out. We need to start sprinkling.
Here's where I'm at on the Tigers bet. I do have a nice enough future bet. Both on I have the Tigers to win over 83.5 games. I have the Tigers to win the division, the Tigers to make the playoffs, all of which you don't get paid out. But at the end of the day, we'll pay like $550 in October for me. So like that's keeping me from feeling the need to like every night in and night out jump and take advantage of this because I feel like
I wish I could do math because I want to figure out your bet sizing. 550.
I can tell
how
you
many
what they
bets.
Were. I can tell you what they were.
Oh, you will? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was.
What'd you bet on it?
I bet 300. Oh, here, let me hold on. Give me some off. Yeah.
Finally, some good off.
All right.
Peacock.
So, Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. I have the Tigers to make the playoffs.
Okay.
100 pays 130.
Nice.
Tigers regular season wins 83.5 over.
Cash that.
330 pays 300.
Damn.
And
you felt confident. You were confident.
AL Central Division winners 50 wins 125. Well, no, the reason. So here's the thing. I don't view that as a lot of money though. I look at it as this. What that does, like that overall is what I put for.
I don't view that as a lot of
430. That's like $480. But what that does is that prevents me from putting 30, 40, 20, whatever it is throughout the season constantly.
Sure.
So, I look at it as this is an investment in myself, not making dumb bets throughout the year. I'm just, and hopefully I win it, and I'm going to win all three. But what I'm saying is it's prevented me from probably 15 or 20 other bets that I don't know if I would have won or lost.
But knowing a couple of those are pretty much going to cash, it doesn't. You don't want to fire a little bit out there.
I'm not saying
I love how you're talking as a responsible gambler. By the way, that's what's hilarious. Really, is that you turning over a new leaf in 25 as a responsible gambler?
That's it.
Well, I already have the future bets. Heaven forbid if I bet at all in this weekend series.
The one thing that bit me a little bit is I started jumping on for a minute. I was like, I'm going to parlay the Rockies and White Sox to lose. And naturally, I did it just as the White Sox started winning like half their games. And so you're losing that. Now, the Rockies,
they'll be back.
The Rockies, fortunately, keep losing it at like an unprecedented rate. So they're the ones that really cash it on. But the White Sox, unfortunately, that parlay doesn't.
But hasn't Vegas caught up with the Rockies? Isn't everything like
you definitely got to take the run line at
minus
this point.
700?
Their
opponent.
You got to take the run line at this point to do anything with the Rockies. I have a little bit on the Champions League on Saturday. I like our friends at Paris Saint-Germain to win. But I've got a futures bet there as well. So I don't
Paris Saint-Germain.
I don't. Yeah, well, they're to lift the trophy. They are minus 160. So I have a little bit on that.
All right,
and but I also have a futures bet that was like 18-1 on them to win. So it's like $10.
What a portfolio! What a futures portfolio you have.
That's all at the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You can download the app, enjoy the fun, bet responsibly, of course.
People with smaller bankrolls here, couch go $330. That's not a lot of money.
For the whole season?
I know, but I mean, to have it wrapped up, it's just my bankroll is a lot smaller. So I just to fire a $330 futures bet, I don't know. I just don't do that. I'd rather just lose it in small increments.
It's not. Here's the thing. It's not money I have to spend. It's already in the account.
I know.
So it's not.
I'm not saying it's dumb. No, it's smart what you're doing. I'm just saying me personally as a bettor, I just go, all right.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere in the $1,000 range for me to do a futures bet, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying.
Big baller yourself.
Sorry, no. But I mean, if I bet $100, I would expect somewhere in the return of $1,000 if I'm doing a future long bet. If I'm a bet that's not going to come to fruition for 6 months or so.
Well, that's one of the best things about like the off-book books, and I still have one of those, is that, like, you can. That's not money. You don't have to use a credit card, or you don't have to have money in there. That's just they're fronting you the money, right? So that's a better.
Might be putting the risk of a loved one at risk there. Who knows? Whatever.
If you ever owe money, you should pay up. That would be my only suggestion if you have one of those. All right, are we? That is what we're betting again. Presented by the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Are we ready to dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions?
Yeah, man. Jebediah up first. Any insight on how much Jace Richardson was offered to come back to school? Regardless, it's another failure on Izzo and our NIL to not bring him back. Nobody ever has too much money, and if you can't even overpay for your own guys, you still aren't dying trying.
Okay, there are a couple issues with this. One, that's not really how that worked. Like, my understanding of, first of all, Izzo told Jase Richardson he had to go, much like he told Jaren Jackson he had to go, or at least had to test the waters. As a college basketball coach, if you're not encouraging that, that reputation is going to get around and you're playing it wrong. Secondly, my understanding was if Jase Richardson, for some reason, decided the NBA wasn't for have the money in the millions, there would be help to do that. Like, Izzo knew that money would be there if he needed. That was my understanding. I don't know 100% to what degree, but I would not have been surprised if that's where you start talking about a couple $1 million, right? So that is it's just the order in which how that works. It's not Izzo saying you're just not going to go to a guy and say, hey, here, how about $2-3 million? What's it going to take to get you to make a decision that may not be what you want? Like, it had to be Jace Richardson. Where does he want to be? He wanted to be in the NBA next year. He wanted to be a pro. He'd gone through this whole process. He'd had a great freshman year. So this is what he wanted. This is what his parents and him had talked about. And so that's why. But that's not him. I don't think Jace Richardson is a good example of Izzo not dying trying. You can argue other, levels of transfer portal commitment and really going after guys or whatever. Those are all fair arguments. I don't think Jase Richardson is one of them.
Dominic next. Ebling had Matt Wenzel on yesterday, and Ebling goes, I was walking out of a restaurant last night, and someone stopped me asking if I saw Wenzel, and I said, the sports writer? What did he do now? Guy says, no, Wenzel Perez. Why is your mentor always creating interactions for a pun?
Yeah, because that never happened. I'll take things that never happened for 1,000 there.
Who's stopping Ebling walking out of a restaurant? Yeah. First of all, there's probably crumbs everywhere, like all on his lapel there. So first you're looking at that. Secondly, you're going to just all of a sudden bring up Wenzel. I feel like just say it by his first name.
I feel like Ebling is trying to fill like a Hondo Carpenter void with stories that didn't happen here.
Hey, I'm here for it. I might start tuning in. If Ebling's just going to start just doing 3 hours of making shit up, I'm in.
Yeah, same. I would actually listen to that a ton.
Yeah. Ebling goes full Hondo, I'm in.
Yeah.
Next one from Dominic. Graham, any chance you'd be willing to walk down a flight of stairs with English Tigers fan jet?
Dangerous things happen when you walk downstairs, so I can't do that. That because then I can be held responsible.
Looks like you tripped,
like I am with this other fella. So can't be having.
It's unfortunate. I don't have my phone to call 911. Unbelievable. Jay Riemenschneider, when you have guests on, or you are a guest on another show, do you have a pre-show prep with the guest? Like what questions will be and the allotted time? Only asking because you were a wee bit long-winded on Sirius XM the other day.
Apologies, Jay. Well, a couple things. One, I usually text them and say this is what we'll probably be talking about, and then I don't say what the questions will be, but these are the topics.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep you from like 12 to 15 minutes, and sometimes we go to 20. And I think people know. Good conversations. There are certain guests I know I can get away with that, and I sense their time limit. I never want to go over 20 unless we're talking. Hey, that's almost
full 69.
That's like a guest appearance if you're going over 20 with somebody, and like I really want to keep it to 15. I think that's a fair thing when you're asking for somebody's time that you're not paying. The show that you're talking about, I think it was a Big Ten show, and they often do push the limits of how long they want you on, and I'm aware of that when I'm on the show. They're looking for me to fill time.
Absolutely.
They're doing a Big Ten football show, Big Ten show in the spring for however long that show's on, 2-3 hours at a time. They want long-winded people.
Anything else, Graham? You want to just expound on that a little bit more? Go ahead.
Yeah.
They want you to go full half hour.
They're good with my long-windedness, but I will keep that. I'll try to be a little more pithy. But like I'll give you an example of this. When I was in 1990, 1998-99, I'm at Lansing Community College, doing the men's and women's basketball games for WLNZ, Larry Marasco. And we were covering a game at Muskegon, and the late Irvin Brunson, R.I.P., great man, the women's basketball coach there at LCC. He came on after the women's game. We had like 45 minutes between the men's and women's game with no engineer back in the studio to like fill. So, okay. So
So you're one listener?
So
left?
We were the only all jazz station in Lansing, so we were on doctors' offices everywhere and dentist offices and all that stuff.
It's true.
So Irvin comes on. We asked him 3 questions. 3 questions. He took 25 minutes. He was the most long-winded. We were so grateful. We didn't know where we were going to go for 45 minutes, and it was like, you give us 25 on that game we just watched with 3 questions. So sometimes people are looking for that, and often on this show, like right now, I'm being very long-winded. We'll move on. That is also a story we're telling, though, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. If you're looking for an awesome place this weekend for a dinner date or just to get an American Stout, my favorite beer in the world, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing is here for you. Brunch on Sundays, trivia Tuesdays, all that good stuff. 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing.
Next one from Jay. What do you think was the reason Michigan basketball had such a wide swing at season's end? Lose 3 in a row to end the regular season, then go on to win the Big Ten tourney and make a Sweet 16.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
So there are a few things here, Jay. Some of it was their schedule got really fierce at the end, and every team kind of went through that at some point. In Michigan's time, when they went through a tough schedule and a slide was just happened to be late. Some of it was they had their soul taken from them a little bit, and I think that Michigan State loss hurt them earlier, and then I think some of it was that, and they wore down a little bit. They just seemed to lose whatever they had going. They did not play their best basketball in February. Some of it was their lack of a home court advantage, which I think absolutely hurts Michigan regularly and helps them. I don't say helps them, but you see an improvement sometimes on neutral site courts because they do not have that home court advantage that you would get at a Breslin or at Illinois or something where the crowd just carries you and makes it really hard. Like, the first time Michigan State played Illinois at Breslin, Illinois was the better team. Michigan State won that game because of Breslin. If Michigan State had Michigan's basketball fan base, Illinois wins that game, right? So you get those sort of scenarios where you don't have that crowd to uplift you because that's just not what Michigan basketball fans are. And then when you go to the Big Ten tournament, you got a really good team that sort of got reinvigorated. You get to a place where they care deeply about making a run, and not everybody there has the same level of motivation. But I still think it was a really good team that just needed a moment to gather itself. And the Big Ten tournament was where they did that. And then the NCAA tournament, you saw it. And they weren't a perfect team, and that's why they had that losing streak and eventually lost. Like, their guard and wing play wasn't great. But so that's why it happened and when it happened.
Steve Beckman next. Why hasn't there been a Tigers gambling update to remind everyone to keep betting on the Tigers to win? The old losing streaks were tolerable because of gambling, but it's so much more fun to cash in when they're winning.
It is fun. And we just had one today, in fairness.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I wish I would have seen you. I would have waited to play the thing, but
No, it's look, I think the one thing that's dangerous now is that Vegas is starting to catch up with the Tigers, and they're favored a lot, and we're not used to that. So you look at it and you go, I don't know, well, minus 160. I don't want to mess with that, or it's 1.5 runs. And I still think they're a team.
I don't want a reason to hate this team. And if I gamble on them and they end up losing, and there's going to be a guy, I don't know. I'm just enjoying it so far.
I am too. I like having the season, and I'm not saying there aren't moments where I'll say, like, I'll be honest, every once in a while I throw a little money against them when Jackson Job's on the mound. I'm like, I don't know about this one. And sometimes they still win because they're a good, plucky team, and I don't resent them for that. I keep the stakes very low, the amount really low, so that I'm not angry. Like, if I lose $20 on the Tigers and they win, I am great with that. That's my, But if you have more,
this guy's balling over here.
$20,
$330 season-long bets, $20. Big deal. Lost that one.
At the end of the year, you're gonna have a little. Yeah, no, they're just a fun team, and they are winning at a pretty good clip in terms of betting. The problem with them, though, is they do often. I've been trying to figure out: is there a live betting place with a bullpen? Is there a, is it game? It's a little trickier when they're this good to find the value. Frankly, even though they're really good.
Kurt Wisniewski, is the Tigers' success luck or skill?
You don't get to Memorial Day. What are they? 16 over 500 now or something? 17. Yeah, you don't get that without. I mean, this is one of those benchmarks in the season, right, where you measure and it's just too far. You're third in almost, and you can't.
I mean, I guess if you need to wait till the All-Star break to know if it's real or not. I mean,
they're good.
It's up to you.
The run differential is really good, and so are there things that may not stick? We'll see. But like that, to me, it would take a rash of injuries to not be I'm not going to say not going to win the division because somebody could get hot behind them and they could not win the division. But to not be pushing 90 wins and, very likely at least a wild card team, it would take a rash of something else happening.
Kurt Wisniewski and Scotty Green's El Camino. When will Amy Fallon and her CMU cronies be brought to justice?
Well, she got a new contract at CMU, which I was a little surprised about. So obviously they feel differently about things than MSU fans.
Her last name's Fallon, really?
It's close. It's Fallon.
Oh,
yeah.
About to say that would be unfortunate.
An adaptation there for a little wordplay. So yeah, I think the Michigan. I think we've said this before. The Michigan situation, which their NCAA hearing is June 6th and 7th, or right around there.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
I think the Michigan situation gets sorted before CMU, and CMU sort of a part of that because I think it's all sort of part of it. So I think it's still coming, but who knows? I don't know at this point. I don't have an answer for you on that.
Sparty Ben, if my math is mathing, if the Tigers were to sign Skubal at $50 million per year, it would take 7,100, or is that 7 million?
7 million.
7,142,857 pizzas sold that year to cover the costs. That's a lot. Caesars has 4,200 stores, meaning each store would have to sell 1,000,007 pizzas in a year, 1,700 pizzas in a year. That's 4.65 pizzas per day per store. Sell the fucking team if you don't want to pay up, pizza boy. I don't want to hear any excuses.
I feel like if they put a call out to fans, like the Couch in the Rube listener group that are also Tigers fans, which there's a pretty good crossover. And us, we could all, like, everybody could have a store, like your own little. You could sign up, like the Kiwanis Club, whatever. Everybody could have a store, and we could be responsible for 4.56 pizzas per day. I don't think that's hard because each person.
I don't think we need to sign up. I just think we do it anyway.
Well, but then we don't know if he's gonna. The deal has to be signed You can't. I'm not putting together something if he's just cashing checks.
True. I understand what you're saying, but I just feel like he's going to make money no matter what. If you sign Scooble, we're good for one store, 4 pizzas a day. We get 4 people to go in.
And you don't even. So if you had 10 people, and probably maybe more than that, but if you wanted to get 1 pizza per week, that's not too much to ask of everybody to get Tarek Scooble. I would think that's a small sacrifice.
MZA, where would you set an updated Tigers regular season wins over under?
What do you put, 90 and a half or something?
37-20 right now, right?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
90 something, 90 and a half?
I had 94.
That
93 and a half, 94.
You might be right. I mean, they're on pace for, almost 100 at this point. So it's pretty amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
These seasons are so long, it's hard to get it,
I think if Vegas were to do, and maybe it's out there on some of the books. I don't know. Like some books do that stuff in season. Hang on, give me some hawk. Let me just see one quick thing.
I am the passenger.
Riding right up into my rectum, and it was painful.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and hollow sky. It looks so good tonight.
Pound the bushes.
Okay, here we go. I mean, fucking everybody masturbates. Detroit Tigers. I'm not going to give the name of the book because it's not our friends at Firekeepers, but you can find out there, and it's a major book. It's the over under is 96.5 right now. That's pretty high. That's a really good year, and I'm not saying they're not on pace for
96.5.
That's a big number. Yeah.
What is the overpay? Is it plus money?
It's minus 110 both ways.
Jesus,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes you find value. Like in the NBA, I won a little bit. You found value mid-season on like the Houston, teams that aren't really, they're not really realizing how good they are. But it looks like Vegas has said the Tigers are legit, and the win total is the reason they give the giveaway, or not the win total, the run total. Sorry, run differential.
MZA, why should I have any faith in Jonathan Smith's ability to make significant improvements this year?
Well, I mean, he's done it year over year at other places and is a coach. Now, whether the resources are there to recruit, but the recruiting's done for this year. So just as a coach and a team that I think is better, he's made improvements year over year other places, right? And so that we've seen that improvement, and we've seen that improvement from his staff. That's the proof is in, or the evidence and the reason to have some faith is that, right? That what he did at Oregon State, and Oregon State was in worse shape than Michigan State when he took it over. But if you sort of look at the incremental progress there and just sort of building, what they did on the line there and their ability to run the football and all that stuff, like there's evidence in the old way that he could do it, and the roster is set. So as a coach, somebody who develops players and wins at a certain level, that stuff, there's a pocket of evidence, and so that's why you would think he'd be better this year. That's it.
MZA. Couch, as of today, where would you pick MSU basketball to finish in the Big Ten next season?
Yeah, it's so hard to know. Like, I think they'll be good, top 6 team. It's just there's so many teams with almost entirely new rosters, like Michigan. Michigan could be really good. You look at talent, and you're like, oh, that's a really good team. But
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Does it come together? You look at different rosters, and you just don't know what they're going to be. It's so hard these days to do that exercise at this time of year when you just have no sense of what a team actually is because so many teams are new. I think MSU basketball will be a top 6 team in the Big Ten, and the question is, like, are they at the top? Is there a team that just happens to be better than them? Are they really good, or are they just not as good? We just don't know on MSU because I think there are a number of varying outcomes, but they're going to be good. They should be a team that has a chance to be in the hunt.
Ben, next, is MSU basketball's athleticism enough to carry them to a deep run this year? It feels like this team has a high floor, but what's their ceiling?
Yeah, we just don't know. I mean, their ceiling is if the guys who we think can take a step and have a step in them, and based on past steps they've taken, take those steps. And then if those guys they brought in as transfers are then also guys who are contribute at the level the coaching staff obviously thought when they decided to bring them in. But if Jackson Kohler takes a step that we think, and he becomes a consistent outside shooter and has a little more consistency to his game inside and continues to rebound like that, if Cohen Carr continues to make strides at the level he did from freshman to sophomore year, if Jeremy Fears has the jump that he might have had a year ago if he had been healthy to have a summer, if Kurt Tang is a good player, we'll find out. So there's a lot of variance, and that's the thing. If you just took the guys who were on last year's team at the level they were, and you subtract Jaden Akins and Jase Richardson and Trey Holloman, and the guys who come in are the equivalent of Frankie Fiddler types, that's not a Big Ten championship team. That's a team that's going to scrape to get into the NCAA tournament and probably get in, but that's just an 8 seed, 9 seed, 10 seed. If those guys make strides, and if the guys they brought in are what they could be, if Cam Ward is what I think he could be, then all of a sudden you've got a really different conversation. So the ceiling is Michael Jordan would say, the ceiling is the roof. We just have no idea if they'll get there.
Renee Janke next. What is the Moneyball Pro? When does the Moneyball Pro-Am start? Will MSU be participating again this year? Are there any trips for the team this year, like Spain last year?
I don't think they're doing anything this year with that, and for a couple reasons. One, I think it's a cool thing to do, and I think they'll do them more often when they can, because those are experiences. Izzo's talked about this, going to a Detroit Tigers playoff game in a luxury suite. In an era where you're trying to keep players from leaving, you're trying to also not just pay them, but create experiences that make them think this is the place I want to be. The grind week experience, when those guys are all there, and it's NBA guys showing up to play, and they're playing against Draymond and Jaren Jackson. There's all that sort of connection and family. That's all things that I think are part of the selling point in going overseas. Was to the Moneyball Pro-Am part, I believe so. I have not talked to Desmond, who runs Moneyball Sportswear, which a lot of people don't realize are connected, about that. But they have for the last 20-some years at this point, and they've been very committed, and that's what allows that thing to happen. I would be surprised if they're not.
Scotty Green's El Camino next. Couch, what's the thigh evaluation on Cam Ward and Jordan Scott?
That's something that has to be done in person. So at the Moneyball Pro-Am, which, by the way, to the question when it starts, I think it starts the last full week of June, like June 23rd, right around there is usually when it starts that week. And that's when the beginning of the thigh evaluations will take place for Cam Ward and Jordan Scott. I will not tell them that I'm doing the thigh evaluations because that could get out.
So if someone sees you at Moneyball, they can assume that while you're looking at some player, you're looking at their thighs.
100%. But I wouldn't tell them. Like, that's something like Greg Doyle would do. He'd be like,
Oh, that's right, your boy Doyle back into the news.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't as bad as the Caitlin Clark heart thing.
It was not.
Because Siakam actually said, right, he's like, well, they outplayed, or what did he say? They out-hustled us.
Yeah, and he
Greg,
said, how is that possible?
Triple G Greg would not take that for an answer.
Well, the biggest problem he had with this, if I was his editor or anybody, the biggest problem was it OG? Well, no, it wasn't OG. It was Siakam. Sorry, OG's on the Knicks. Siakam, and Siakam saying, "Who is this guy?" Like, if you're the columnist in town, you ought to be in the locker room enough. The locker room is open all year.
Oh, it's the guy that got banned from Caitlin Clark games.
Yeah, but you should be in the Pacers, the different locker room. You should. If you're the columnist in town, they should.
That is true. That's kind of weird, right?
Like, and I understand it. You have other beat. Like, he's not. It's not like a job quite like mine, where I'm much more of a beat columnist, where I'm at every MSU football road and home game. But if, like, at the end of the season, Jaden Akins said to me, "Who is this guy?" Like, in the NCAA tournament, that'd be like,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. But you're not.
Could a Lions player do that to Los?
Who is
When
this
you guys
guy?
do that? Yeah.
Who is
I'm
this
sorry.
guy?
What? Who are you?
Who is this guy? Yeah.
Why are you here? No. I didn't realize that part of it because Doyle covers the Pacers, right? He's everything Indiana.
Well, yeah, right.
And Siakam didn't know who the hell he was?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Scotty Green's El Camino. Anybody have the phone number or OnlyFans of Dominic Slutty X? Asking for a friend.
We'll see if Dominic can.
Multiple friends, apparently.
Yeah.
Professor, how many Tigers prospects are you willing to trade at the deadline for another bat? What bat? I'm willing to trade.
I'm willing.
I don't know about Max Clark, but
I'm willing to trust Scott Harris a little bit right now. I think he's earned that, don't you? Because of what the team's become and the way he's done it, and sort of I doubted him for sure. And I think some of that's because of Chris Ilitch, but he had a vision for how he wanted to build it, and it's worked. And so
the Flaherty trade gave me a little faith. Because I was really like, what is happening here? Ended up getting Trey Sweeney, and then Flaherty ends up coming back anyway. Mark Canna getting a bag of chips for Mark Canna last year was unreal. So, yeah, I mean, but I'm willing, I'm not one of these guys that wants to hold on to every prospect hoping that they turn out to be somebody. I will say Max Clark is a guy I would not trade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Professor, at what point is it too hot outside? I say 74 degrees.
You are not built for SEC country. I would say... Yeah, anything upper. Well, it depends on the wind and the time of day and where the sun hits you.
How long do you have to be outside for?
And it's where the sun hits you. Like if you're if you're sitting at a baseball game and the sun's right on you, like 77 can be brutal. But if you're in the shade, 77 is great. So I think a standard answer is 81. We should set. It's like 81 is just too hot.
But for how long, though? Because like when we're in the backyard, I like to get some sun, and then I sit out there for like an hour and a half or so, and then do some things outside, and I got to go inside. Go inside for like an hour.
It depends on the rest of your day too. So like, do you have a shower in you later? Is the question.
True.
So like if I'm
gotta have a shower.
I don't. Like I struggle with going on walks with my mother. You
need a shower after a walk.
Well, no, I'm just saying if it's 86 degrees out, I'm gonna because we're walking a couple miles or a mile and a half. And like. Yeah, I'm gonna,
But you're always on a treadmill. You should be your body should be just ready for that.
But I sweat when I'm on the treadmill profusely.
Of course.
And so what I'm saying is if I have like
that's why the lube is everywhere. Or what do you put on your treadmill? Lube?
Well, so it's lube to keep the treadmill, moving. And then sometimes the lube leaks all over the floor. And now we have
disgusting.
It's not.
It's not where the lube goes.
Well, you got to know how to administer the lube.
Oh, Jesus. Don't get creepy. You know what? You always have to take it to the next creepiness level. Jonathan B. next. Why does it seem all 4 Detroit teams are afraid to make big moves to get over the top? Not signing Skubal. The Lions never signing a legit edge rusher. No number 2 for Cade Cunningham, and nothing ever for the Red Wings. It's worse to be terrible, but this edge of greatness is very frustrating.
I don't think that's 100% fair. Like, the Lions went 15-2 last year. And had a rash of injuries. I think the Lions are there. I think they just bad luck hit them. I don't know. At 15-2, that seems like greatness. It seems like they didn't have. It's impossible to put together a perfect NFL roster. Those salary situations just don't allow for that.
But when you get that close, like in the NFL, I granted they won 15 games, which was wild with all of those injuries. But Zadarius Smith isn't a guy that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So,
but also you weren't going to get Max Crosby. So,
and let's take the Pistons for example. And the Ivy situation with his injury, the Jaden Ivey situation wasn't helpful, and they're going to have to make a decision on some of these guys as soon as this summer when they're extension eligible. But like, you don't want to get yourself into a situation where your other guy for Cade is not enough to take you to a championship. And so you got to really think things through. And, there are guys out there, but it's hard to do. Is Devin Booker the guy? Is that a great fit? Is Giannis available? Can you get him? Do you have a package that makes sense to do that? Do you want to speed up your timeline that way? I would consider Giannis, of course. He's still in his prime for a couple more years. It's just really hard to do. And I get the frustration. And then look at the Tigers. The Tigers will be the most. I think the Tigers will be the most telling because the Tigers are the ones that don't have a salary cap. The Pistons have this, they've got to do this right. I'm not saying they don't have some flexibility, but you can screw this up and you can get stuck. And the Lions have this cap they've got to deal with, and they got a lot of expensive players coming up that they already have. The Tigers have gotten great, and they are playing great. When your over-under for the rest of the season is 96.5, you are considered a great team. And yet they're not a perfect roster. And how do they supplement it? And who do they give up? You don't want to give up a Max Clark if all of a sudden – he's Barry Bonds in a year, maybe not head size and everything, but otherwise. And so watching the Tigers, I think that's a real tell because they don't have the limitations that some of the other teams do around them.
Couch on fire. Rumors are the Tigers interested in Cardinal third baseman Nolan Arenado in a trade. Are you? Defensively, the guy's unbelievable. Hitting, I don't know, was he hitting 230?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what are we giving up?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's.
I mean, defensively, you have to say at third base, that would be amazing to see Arenado there. But
So I'm getting greedy with the Tigers a little bit now. I see how good they are, and I see how good their prospects are, and I almost don't want them to screw it all up. But it's, at the same point, at some point, you have to go for it. And I do not believe the roster they have now is a roster that's likely to win a World Series. It's not that you can't get hot. It's not that you have to be great. We all remember the Cardinals and that 83-win bullshit that beat the Tigers in 06. Like, the baseball postseason is also not indicative of the regular season, which is another thing you have to think about. How do you win the postseason? And that's really where the Tigers have to be now. The Tigers, as constructed, are a playoff team. They're the most likely team to win the division. So at this point, if you're thinking about trades for the Tigers and different things the Tigers might need, to me, your focus has to be what makes them a more fierce, more difficult postseason team to deal with. And that's what it's about, because if you win a World Series, it's worth it. If you give up Max Clark and he winds up being a great player, but the player you bring in for him contributes to World Series, nobody's going to.
Well, if we win a World Series, everything gets erased off the map. Like Max Clark could go to another team and.
Who was it? Was it Alexander or Petrie? It was Doyle Alexander, right, for John Smoltz? Is that who it was?
That was, yeah.
So, and they didn't win the World Series in '87. But say, and I've heard Smoltz tell this story. Actually, I was at a lunch with him, not to name drop. Story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. But with the late Javier Cavazos a couple years ago, and
now you're really name dropping.
Yeah, sorry.
Jesus.
And anyway, Smoltz was telling the Tiger story, and I don't have it down in my head perfectly, and I don't want to get it wrong, but it does sound like the Tigers screwed it up even more than you would like. It's not as simple as you think, and why it happened is not. I can just tell you this: the Tigers should have had John Smoltz.
Is it because Doyle Alexander played for every single Major League Baseball team at the time?
But I'm just saying, if they had won,
why it wasn't a great trade.
If they had won the '87 World Series, you'd think of that differently. They got to the playoffs, but if they'd won the '87 World Series, you'd say, all right, well then you at least won the World Series out of it, right?
Couch on fire. Who's the most important Tiger the last 2/3 of the season?
Say it's Torkelson. If he keeps
Parker
us up.
Meadows, maybe.
But they're already been good.
He comes back and starts playing well.
Yeah.
We're real dangerous then.
To me, we all know, and we were talking with Cody Stavenhagen from The Athletic about Javi, and we know that some of that's fool's gold and it's not going to keep up. But the more sustainable stuff looks to be Torkelson. Like if this is Torkelson for the whole year, and I think there's still a little bit of apprehension, that would be huge. And so maybe it's him because you trust Riley Green's going to be good, you trust Skubal's going to be good. Like, is Torkelson this guy for the rest of the year? And
with the injuries on the pitching staff, Jack Flaherty, if he can be the number 2 guy going into a playoff run or something like that, but yeah.
No,
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Couch on fire. Michigan headlines: Final Four or bust. Top transfer forgoes draft. Jase Richardson stays in, and Tom Izzo doesn't get a dude. Mood of the MSU fan base today.
Well, it depends if they have Groovy Donuts with them, because Groovy Donuts brings joy to any fans. Like, you can lose out in the transfer portal, but if you have a Groovy Donut, you are fine. You are feeling good. And if you are going to a graduation open house, bring Groovy Donuts with you. Or if you're hosting one, bring Groovy Donuts or have Groovy Donuts there. People will remember it. People like people who have Groovy Donuts. So you don't even have to be that likable a person, but if you bring Groovy Donuts, people will think they like you. That's really one of the secrets of it. They are open Thursday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., 2 locations. That's Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and also in Williamston. They have great weekly offers, and if you go to groovydonuts.com, you can place your order. Like baklava donut is back this week. They always have just tremendous offerings, and they'll do special things too. If you have a graduation, they'll do little graduation caps or gowns. They'll do the year 2025 on donuts. They'll do all sorts of cool stuff. They'll even try to do the likeness of your child on a donut, their face, and which is a lot to ask. And I know
you always have to go one just too far.
They don't like when I do this part, but I think they would take the challenge at groovydonuts.com. Our friends Monica and Andrew there.
Well, Graham did say you could do my child's face.
So to the question though, what is the mood of MSU's fan base? I think it depends on who you are and what your sport is that stirs the soul. Like if you're an MSU hockey fan first and foremost, and I know people like that, and you like MSU football and you like MSU basketball, you feel really good about things overall. If MSU football is what I think there's some real apprehension and angst, and I think that's fine, and I think MSU football has to show you something before you believe it. There's a difference between getting on board with Jonathan Smith and sort of being somebody who's not just a constant complainer about things that aren't going to get fixed in the postseason and truly trusting what's going on there. I'm not asking anybody to truly trust it. That would be insane. Like, we've got to see if they can raise money. We've got to see if this is a program that can compete in this modern age and how things are constructed, and if Jonathan Smith is the guy for that. But as a football coach, he's been pretty successful. And the roster is set, and I think they're going to be a little bit better. And like, I think there's no point in just, working yourself into a tizzy every day and then, sharing your thoughts and everybody going, this sucks. What the hell? Like, that's all I'm saying. And without lecturing people.
Corey Ostrom, do you think Jay's got a promise from an NBA squad, or do you think he's banking on himself? I feel like if Yaxel, who has more upside, didn't get a promise, then how did Jase?
I mean, even the every mock draft and projection I've seen, even since the combine, has him, between like 15 and 20. I think he knows that's about where he's going to go. That's about where I think they want him to go, and I'm talking about his family. They don't want him to be on a shitty franchise. And so I don't think he's betting on himself. I think he sees the projections, and he's probably talked to franchises that he has I don't know if he got a promise, but he probably knows he's a first-round pick. I would be very surprised if he's not a first-round pick. I mean, he is somebody who interviews incredibly well. NBA teams, from what I've heard, like that he comes off as an incredibly humble kid. And I think there's some playmaking in him and secondary ball handling and playmaking that, like, could really help, certain rosters. So I don't think he needed a promise. I think he's a first-round pick.
So the goal is to not be drafted by a lottery team.
The goal is not to go to the Charlotte Hornets or the New Orleans Pelicans or some place that are just perpetually stuck in where they are and don't seem to have winning cultures, right? You want to go somewhere that you're going to play relevant basketball. And I think,
Michigan State.
Or a place like Minnesota with Anthony Edwards. It's got an aging guard right there and could really use somebody like him.
Corey, why is the NCAA so anxious to fix what isn't broke? The NCAA, to me, is a basketball tournament, and so passive to fix what is absolutely killing their product, that being the NIL and the transfer portal. Just don't have a regular season and start the tournament in November. NCAA is ass.
I don't get this.
10 plus is ass.
Like, if you're part of this contingent, and everything coming from what's coming from the NCAA, head of the NCAA is coming from its members and presidents and other things. So this isn't just an NCAA thing, but the idea of expanding to 72, 76, whatever it might be, to me, you don't want to screw. There's so much out there right now that's difficult. You have one thing that we all love, the NCAA tournament and how it fits and the bracket and all that stuff, and you just don't need more teams in it. And there isn't, I don't even think, that much more money to be made. Because here's the deal, you don't have more time to do it. You could have a few more play-in games, I guess. But is that going to change the television contract? Is it really? It's just going to make it harder it's just going to squeeze things into that week. And the thing is, the bracket is the bracket. It fits on a page. It's 64 teams. And we can deal with a little bit of play-in because we kind of write those teams off. We don't consider them, whatever. But when you start to get more and more play-in teams, it becomes more and more of a factor. And now your bracket has to be done by Tuesday afternoon instead of Thursday at noon. And like you don't, what you have in college basketball, what keeps college basketball mostly relevant is the casual sports fan and casual person who all, pays attention to the NCAA tournament and enjoys it through the bracket. Lots of people's, who are college basketball fans that have family you get involved in, your office pool, all that stuff. Do not screw it up, because I think this is one of those things. If you overthink it legacy-wise, that could be what you did. And if you at all hurt the casual interest in the NCAA tournament, you are absolutely screwing that up. I can't believe this is even a conversation. It's just so dumb. And I don't even see the extra finances. It'd be one thing if it was like, hey, because you can't move it. The Masters is when the Masters is. There's no extra weekend. The NCAA tournament has to end when it ends. I don't think it's ever going to start earlier. Like, so your window is what it is, and you really can't make the bracket that much bigger. You can add play-in games. That only threatens the bracket. I think this is super, 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 super dumb.
Scott, you next. Is there anything fans can do at this point to stop the NCAA tournament expansion?
I don't think they care about you, so no. I mean, I'd say write your congressman, write your AD, write your whoever, but like
you'd have to play the long game. You just stop watching.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, I understand, but for a significant amount of time, that's the only thing that would get change, I believe. Because you're right, they don't care about you. But if you stop watching year after year, I think that's the only way. They would have to change it.
Yeah, and there's just no good. It's a good question. I mean, there's clearly some financial reason they want to do it, but it's. I can't find it. I have not found a good reason yet, and I'm very I'm sorry.
Scott, you who at the athletic department has been working on the Friday night kickoff with Alan Haller gone?
I'm pretty sure that was in place with Haller. That's something that he was planning to do, and it's possible that that was Jen Smith or Izzo or whatever, but my guess is that was something that was already in place. But the other thing is Kevin Pauga, who does a lot of the scheduling for the Big Ten, is in MSU's athletic department. I think that's one thing people aren't always aware of. And so he may have had, maybe he took, if there were still things that needed to get across the line. But that's something that MSU has wanted. They do annually. It's something, last year they had all these night games. The schedule didn't look that bad, actually, when you look at it now. They've got early on, at least. They've got a 3:30. They've got a noon. They've got a couple night games when it's still warm out. It's not that bad. It's everything that I think MSU fans wanted, sort of the eclectic nature of different time slots. But one of the things that didn't happen last year is you're only supposed to have so many night games you're allowed. And because MSU requests that Friday night before Labor Day weekend, that didn't count as one of theirs. And then the Boston College game didn't count as one of theirs because it was a different network and it was a non-conference game. So this year, because it's the Boston College game's home, it will count, and that's at night. And Haller was really pushing to make sure that Friday night game before Labor Day also counted against their total night games that they could possibly have. So I think that stuff was in place before he was let go.
Josh Inwood next. Graham, is there the era of traditional college athletic directors over? And if it is, should MSU think outside of the box and try to target someone like an assistant general manager to a pro team? Experience with contracts used to dealing with billionaire owners and player egos? Should we split the athletic program in two, with one AD for revenue sports and one for non-revenue sports? Seems like NIL era makes it too complicated for just one person.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, but you could just build a staff where your deputies or lieutenants handled certain things in house. But yeah, no, I think Alan Haller, and they're not going to pay two ADs $1 million to do this, especially in an age where they're cutting across the campus and all that stuff. But I think Haller had some real strengths and was really good at certain things, and would have been valuable paired with somebody who was really good at other things. And that's just not really how that. But you're right.
So you're saying there would be a main person, right? And then there would just be kind of people to their side.
Well, you could have two people who both reported to the president, so they didn't report to each other. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody, and they had different roles, and you could absolutely get creative. And you probably should get creative, and you don't even need to think about somebody who's necessarily in athletics to do that role. You need somebody who is comfortable walking in that world with people who have to be suckered out of money, and that's what being an athletic director is right now.
Pound the bushes.
You got to convince people that, and not all. Look, people want to give to their alma mater. They want to give to projects there. They want to see their alma mater do well. It's not all suckering people out of money. NIL is a little bit of a different deal most places.
David Jackson next. Do you rank Michigan ahead of MSU in preseason hoops? Michigan depended on their 7-footers on almost every possession, so now they'll depend on Lendenberg on every possession. Is he better than either of their two bigs from last year? Lendenborg is a bigger fiddler. I'll take Kohler.
I don't know yet, and I like the talent they brought in. Are they? Because I think it's not just that there's a lot of unknowns with Michigan's roster, which is a good transfer portal roster. Michigan State's is more established in who's there, but if you took Michigan State's top guys and said they were all portal additions, people are like, oh, that's pretty damn good too. And the other thing is we just don't know what those Michigan State guys are going to be. We don't, and until we see it together, the fit, until we see which guys have improved and what they really have and which freshmen are ready and just what it all looks like, we don't. It's very hard to evaluate MSU and Michigan in basketball right now. It just is, and I think both have good coaches. Both are programs that are in pretty good shape. The question is for both, and I think both of them have probably pretty high floors given their coaching and the talent that's there. The question is, does either one of them have a ceiling that's something truly special? And there's just no way to know that yet.
Next one from David. How many 6'1" guards in the NBA today are considered important players? Do you think that Jase Richardson will be ready to contribute on an NBA team, getting meaningful rotation minutes?
Well, he's a 6'3" player, and I'll tell you what I mean by this. They're a 6'2" player, and so you have to look at it differently. It's been less than a decade, much less. I think I can't even remember when it was that they stopped measuring guys with shoes on, which is dumb. So you have all this era that was previous to I remember when Denzel Valentine, I think, was at the combine. I thought there were still shoes on. I could be wrong, but so part of the issue is that they just and you play basketball with your shoes on. Last I checked, you play basketball with your shoes on usually.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
sandals.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So he's not going to be 6 foot on the court, and I don't know why they went to that. It's fine if they want to do that. The problem is historically it doesn't measure up. So like Isaiah Thomas, who was 6'1.5" was probably a 5'11" guard with his shoes off, but he was never measured that way for the NBA. So he's a small guard. He's got a good reach. He's athletic. He's crafty. He understands how to play to his size. But like, can he play the role and do what Mike Conley did in Minnesota? I think so. I think he can be better than an aging Conley pretty quickly. I think he'll be good in the NBA. So I don't know what his NBA ceiling is. I don't know if he can be great, but I think he can be a productive NBA player.
Next one from David. With the new AD coming to town, how can we communicate to him or her that playing Central Michigan in football is off the table? I can tell you right now that if the 2027 and 2030 games with CMU are not canceled, this AD will lose the fan base. Until Foley and Felon leave CMU, screw them.
Again, you let them know, you write them. I mean, it'll be a question that's asked of them by somebody like me.
Could David go to one of the board of trustee meetings and read at a podium his?
You could do that.
Yeah.
You could absolutely show up and do those 3 minutes. That would be a good way of doing it actually in college. That would be a good way for everybody who's worried about the NCAA.
But let David Jackson do it. Tournament
and everything. Yeah, David come in and but you could do it. David's down in Columbus. He could go to Ohio State and for the NCAA tournament one and go to their board meetings but it'll be a question that's asked of the new AD, and we'll see. It's one of those things that may not be asked at the introductory presser because that's not really. It's a hard time to do it, and it feels kind of weird sometimes. But the first time you get a sit down with them, or you get a longer conversation, and it'll definitely be brought up.
Alex Mayer, if you were an NBA GM, what's the highest you would consider drafting Jace?
Well, it's a good question because you look at the NBA draft historically, and usually guys, the very few guys who are true stars come out of any draft, and usually there are lots of guys in the top 10 who don't pan out at all, and there are lots if you think he's going to be a really good role player, then really anywhere outside of the top 12 to 15, you should be all over him, and then it just depends how you view him and what you think his ceiling is, and then what he can do to help you. And again, I think Minnesota as first pick is 16, 17, the Pistons' old pick right in there. That would be one that would fit. I think he would want to go somewhere. The Lakers with a guy like Luka is a heavy ball handler guy, but you need a secondary guy who can handle the ball. Those sort of places, I think would be really good. I think late teens. 20s, early 20s would be really smart for him.
Alex, top to bottom, will the NFC North be the best division in football next season?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't.
Green Bay's going to be good.
Yeah.
Minnesota's up in the air.
I don't know about Minnesota. Right. I don't know about the Bears either. Everybody. I feel like when divisions are hyped, they never live up to it. Last year, it was clear. It was holy crap, this is a really good division.
Yeah.
But somebody else out there will be a good division. So my guess is...
I hope not. I don't want our division to be as good as it was last year.
Right.
Where we have to fight for
hold on. Let's just look at the NBA standings, or NFL standings. Give me 1 second.
Under glass, I look through my window so bright. I see the stars come out tonight. I see the bright and hollow sky over the city's ripped back sky. And
All right, so I mean, I think the AFC North with Baltimore, and we'll see what Pittsburgh is. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh always has a chance. I look at this. I guess.
Are you looking at NFL divisions in May?
Sorry.
Are you doing that right now?
I'm doing that.
Are you? What?
Yeah.
You know, that's like our July thing, like going through the divisions and going through like the Ravens schedule. And I mean, damn.
I would say the AFC West, maybe Kansas City, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. I don't. I will stop doing this immediately. And by the way, if you find yourself at any point looking at NFL divisions in late May, I suggest doing something else tonight. Maybe going to Cask and Company in Front 43, getting a drink, getting a meal, watching some baseball, some soccer. You can watch the Champions League on Saturday. You can watch some Tigers this weekend. Lots of French Open happening. And not just that. If you just want to go, like a lot of times I go to Cask and Company in Front 43, it's not to watch a game. It's to have a great meal with somebody. And if you go to caskandcompany.com, you can make a reservation. They've got an underrated patio, great happy hour specials, and great things all the way from like burgers to sushi rolls, incredible sushi. And I like their Big Island bowl and their Maui bowl. Some of their sushi bowls are just absolutely incredible. They're at Cask and Company and Front 43 near the East Lansing border in Lansing.
SL Rosso next. Oilers or Panthers?
I mean, I hate Florida teams in hockey, so give me Edmonton. Edmonton would appreciate it way more.
Connor McDavid, in his cup.
Yeah, nobody wants
fun.
Florida doesn't have enough fans to justify it.
And the Panthers won last year, didn't they?
I don't know.
Ernie Harwell of Southern Maine next. Am I the asshole for wearing my Detroit City FC shirt to the Hearts of Pine game this weekend? Yes.
You're always an asshole if you wear a Detroit City FC shirt.
Oh, okay.
Kidding. No, not everybody is. They were just jerks to Lansing at one point, and I took offense because naturally I would.
The Ernie Harwell. Are we good with the rumored 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 playing game that Tony Petitti wants because it's how the English determine promotion at the lower levels?
So what he's talking about, this is like to get into if the Big Ten has automatic places in the college football playoffs. So say they've got 4 spots, right? And the idea would be that 2 teams would get automatically in, and then 3 through 6 would be part of like play-in games to take those last 2 spots. It's a great way to keep a lot of teams engaged. It's a great way to deal with certain tiebreakers too, because you're going to have a lot of tiebreakers in an 18-team league, and at least the tiebreakers now would be dealing with teams 6 through 7 rather than 4 and 5 and things. It's extra football though, and an extra game. Certainly, you're getting rid of the conference championship games at this point. Extra games are tricky. I mean, this is not basketball where you can squeeze that in on a Tuesday night. Like I don't hate the concept. I'm curious to see how that would actually be executed. But I don't hate the idea that 6 teams at the end of the season would think they had a chance at the college football playoff if there were indeed 4 spots for the Big Ten. I certainly don't.
Mark next. Are you going to watch the Club World Cup? I don't even know how to watch DAZN. DAZN. Summer soccer in an off-cycle year is complete ass.
I'll probably watch some of it. I do watch DAZN because Torquay United is often in the National League South on that. That's how I am able to get them.
It's not DAZN?
I don't know how it's DAZN. I don't know what.
Yeah, we watch boxing on there occasionally if we have to, so I don't know.
Yeah, the Club World Cup is not, and the tickets, so Buddy and I were going to go to the semifinals in East Rutherford, New Jersey, for the Club World Cup as our annual trip. And man, to get into building costs for one of those games, and there are tons of tickets available, they're not even selling, is like $350. To sit way up high, it's like that's shit.
Watch it on TV?
Yeah, no, we're going to do something else. I think we're going to Minneapolis. I think,
but I'm saying $350 all the way up in a nosebleed, right? Don't you and your buddy just look at each other and be like, why would we just watch this at
And when it's not even the actual World Cup, like we're going to the World Cup a year from now, and we're saving to it. We put $25 each into a shared bank account.
When those Tiger bets hit,
but we've been doing that for several years, knowing this World Cup next year is going to be expensive. And we know we're going to have about $4,000 together in there, which just makes it less expensive because we know we're going to have to drop. If we want good seats at a World Cup match, you're going to have to drop $1,000.
So you and your buddy have a bank account that you both can pull money out of.
No, we don't put money. Well, we just direct deposit.
Understood, but you could.
Correct.
Your buddy could just.
Correct. Correct. I trust him.
No, I know. But you know what I mean? It's crazy.
He's the best man at my wedding. He's not going to run off. He's an Irishman.
I didn't say that. I just. It's just weird to all of a sudden funnel money into for soccer. It's crazy. Good for you guys. Cooper, Graham, what Premier League team's fandom best fits Jason?
I saw this question. I think it's Crystal Palace. Because Crystal Palace fans are not at all pretentious. Crystal Palace is a club, just won an FA Cup. It's a great run. They've got talent. They sometimes still rube it, usually early in the season, and that fits. So I think Crystal Palace.
Has there been a player that's been to jail on the team?
We could find some folks like that, but I think Crystal Palace fits Jason. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, more of your groovy donut questions. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app, and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask and Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask and Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. If you're looking for a relaxed vibe, great food, and an outstanding beer selection, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing is your place. Enjoy their famed chicken and waffle fries, fish and chips, or any of their delicious burgers or salads. Midtown Brewing Company also offers 40-plus beers on tap, including ciders and seasonal offerings and daily happy hour specials. The spacious and cozy vibe makes Midtown Brewing Company a perfect place for a beer with a friend, a work lunch, or to watch the games on its big screen TVs. If you'd rather eat at home, Midtown Brewing Company offers a terrific carry-out menu and free delivery on orders of $20 or more. Visit MidtownBrewingCompany.net or stop by 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing for the Midtown Brewing Company experience.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, our Friday show presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app, and of course, Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar, just north of Frandor, near the East Lansing border on East Saginaw. Fantastic place. If you're looking for a date night this weekend, or just to watch a game, post up at a bar, or take your spouse out at Front 43 and Cask and Company. All right, back to your Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Maybe, how spontaneous are you?
Not as much as I'd like to be. You?
Like, give me an example.
So you get home and you're like, you know what? Let's go do this tonight. Yeah.
Or the wife says something like that?
Well, but that's you reacting to her being spontaneous.
Oh.
How would you lead? Like, would you go home and be like, let's go to Top Golf. Let's just do it. Or let's go out to this restaurant. Let's go.
Top Golf? I mean, it's like an hour and a half away. I would love to go to Top Golf.
Let's buy a plane ticket to Russia. Would you do it?
No, I don't want to go to fucking Russia.
Yeah.
You saw what they did to Brittany Griner.
That's true.
You know?
You would definitely be stuck.
Dude, there's no effing way.
Yeah.
Now, if we wanted to all of a sudden, but see, I need her to do that.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not going to sit there. You getting a ticket? Are you distracted?
No, sorry.
You keep looking outside.
It was the meter maid.
I know, but it's really hard to talk to someone when they constantly keep looking out the windows all day.
What you just went through with me is what I go through with my wife when I'm telling her a story. That is my life. Like, me looking at it's the worst.
Also, my wife does the same thing, and I tell her, I got to say, dear, it's really hard to concentrate and tell a story to someone that keeps looking at their phone or looking around.
It kills your confidence. It just kills the story. It kills the vibe. Sorry, go back to that.
It's not about killing my confidence, because I just know that she just, all of a sudden, if she sees a squirrel, it's like that's where her attention goes. So I'm trying to get used to that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh yeah, how about Russia? Like, you did not even think about where we were going. That's not spontaneous.
Sorry, if Therese, go back to what you're saying. If Therese had an idea, would she have an idea when you got home?
If she did that and was like, hey, do you want? I'd be like, okay, but it more has to come from her. It's not. Yeah. I like being at home. I like Fridays, Saturdays. I just like being at home and chilling out and doing certain things. So if it was like where we had to travel 2 hours, that ain't me. If all of a sudden, like, hey, instead of cooking out tonight, on the grill, let's just go grab a bite. Is that spontaneous?
I think I could be more. I'm kind of a chameleon. Is it a chameleon or a
chameleon? Yeah.
Yeah, I can fit
Is
in.
Is it chameleon? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, so what I mean is, like, for example, my wife does not. Her idea of camping is like a Fairfield Inn, right? She does not camp.
I'm with her.
I used to like camping to some degree. I'm not like a huge outdoors person. If I had married somebody who was into the outdoors, I would enjoy it, and I'd go along, and we'd have a great time. That would be part of our life.
But I feel like if you were married to anyone, you would just adapt to whatever they enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because you're a good spouse like that.
Well, thank you.
It's like, well, that's what we say.
Yeah.
You're pee-whipped, but we say you're a great husband.
But I'm not as, and I think my wife would like me to be a little more spontaneous. I'm not as spontaneous.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what? Like how?
Well, if
like outdoorsy stuff, like you just said, she doesn't like doing that.
Yeah, no, and there's certain nights I know she doesn't want to like you. She'd rather be in and not. I don't hit her with spontaneity at the wrong time.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah. It's careful spontaneity is what I'm looking to pull off here.
Maybe. What do you most admire about your co-host and your partner?
Is that one person, or are we talking separate people here?
You know what she said. Yeah. Partner, as in your significant other.
Yeah. Jason's got kind eyes. So he's Cassius Winston.
I have one good eye.
Oh, he has a
my
kind
left
eye.
one I can see. My right one is no good.
He has a kind eye.
I have a kind eye, yeah.
The
other one's dead.
I would say it is, to me, he is, that he's more talented than he lets on. He's always been that. And he's self-deprecating and a great storyteller. He can carry a show with his stories. He cares about the show. He's versatile.
Jesus, all right.
There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of talent.
Wow.
My wife doesn't have any of those attributes. So
are you implying that I waste my talent?
You could do better than here for sure.
Well,
sure.
yeah.
What
I don't know if I can, though. To be honest with you, I'm just happy to be here. When you're happy to be here, it's like harder to say that you're better than this.
Yeah.
This is exactly other than the money, it's great. I love this show. I would love to do this show.
I think both of us like that our spouses make more than us.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a huge win for both of us.
More
than same. It's
absolutely.
Nice. It's a good deal.
And I love her that she can wake up and just be kind to people. Like, she doesn't need coffee.
Yeah.
She doesn't need. It's just so bizarre how she can sit there and interact, because she does that for her job, where she's a customer success manager. So she always talks to people. Whereas I'm just like, dude, how are you getting up at 8 a.m. and just starting to fire it off? That's unbelievable.
All right, now do me.
What?
Well, she says, and your partner. She's asking you too.
Yeah, no, I've said this before about Couch. I may disagree with not only his lifestyle, his sports takes, but the guy, for doing a show, I've done plenty of shows with other people, and there isn't anyone better at being self-deprecating and taking shit like Couch does. If it's not Twitter, because he knows what he's doing on Twitter, and he knows that I like getting on Twitter and seeing, when he does those things. So I admire that about Couch, because I have not worked with another host that I've done a show on that can be self-deprecating and take shit, because we do give each other shit on this show, because that's what makes this show great. And a lot of times a host of a show has an ego and thinks, why is this guy over here making fun of me? And Couch never has that. So that's why I like doing this show. And I do respect that for you.
We don't take ourselves too seriously.
No, you can't. You can't. Should we go more about our partners?
Let's keep patting on our back. I know. Oh, yeah. Should we talk about no. We like the money they bring in, and that's why we stick around. No, we're just grateful they put up with us.
I can't understand why Treese is still with me. Same. I don't get it.
Same on both accounts, Elizabeth or Treese, for you, in your case.
Austin Wolf next. For those who weren't with the show when it first began, how did Graham and Jason meet and the show get started? Guess it's true when they say opposites attract. Enjoy the show, fellas.
We're more similar. I mean, we're opposites in certain ways. We have different tastes in certain things, but we're more similar than and I think that's key. But we're
overweight. We're white.
Yeah. In our mid-40s.
Kind of generally wear the same kind of attire,
Yeah. It's
we definitely lead different lives after the show. Like, we don't go home and do the same things, I don't think.
Correct. But
not that I'm doing anything crazy. It's just
we're actually probably leaving the same type of life tonight. But the how did we
tonight?
How do we meet? We met so it was, and forgive us for those who have heard this, but 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
I had been doing a show with Ryan Schuling, and we would have 4 guests for a 2-hour show, and I would have to sit there and get these 4 guests on. Couch, it was like Couch, Solar. It was the guys that covered Michigan State, and I would interact with those guys. I couldn't imagine what those guys were thinking. Like, this guy is texting me twice a week asking to come on the fuck. I mean, I couldn't believe looking back on it, texting all these people all this time for their free time. It's just wild. But that's how we first we became to know each other. And then someone got fired. And then there was like Jeff Heward, who owns us and this place, wanted to keep doing some sort of podcast.
Well,
right?
So, but the step you're skipping is before someone got fired, Cody and I were filling in for a week.
Right.
Cody Tucker.
I did forget that. Sorry.
And so, and at one point, I thought about it'd be fun to do a show with Cody. I like Cody a lot, and I didn't really know Jason at the time. So we filled in for a week on this radio show. It's like a 2-hour midday show, and Jason was producing it. And I realized right away that there was good chemistry. And I was like, man, I just got to get rid of Cody. And no, that wasn't what I thought. But Cody took another.
He's got way better stories than I do.
Cody took a different job, but I knew from that week that something could work with Jason, and if I was ever to do a show in this area, that Jason and I should do it together. So there was sort of that week was the beginning of us like having a friendship and a ability to work together and all that stuff.
Yeah, so. And then someone got fired, and then we were like, okay, let's do this. And then Cody ended up doing his Wyoming thing that he's still currently doing, I believe. So then, we just were like, all right, why not? Let's keep doing this.
And then we started doing originally it was 10 to 2, 5 days a week, which is ridiculous. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Man, good times. Matt C., why is the MSU media only critical of the donors and fans? It's never Haller was incompetent, which he clearly was. It's the donors are dumb for wanting to win. It's never Darian Harris's fault when our top player transfers, even though he manages engagement.
Well, not anymore. He's taken a job with the New York Giants as of today. So I was texting with him earlier, and that news has been out there. The Giants reported it first. It's good for him. It's like a engagement job there. It's for a guy who wants to. I think what Darian Harris has always wanted to be more than athlete. Some people want to be athletic directors, and I think he's wanted to be like a GM. And I think for him, moving into the pro sports world is something that this is a no-brainer move. And also, I don't know. He was. Haller's gone. What the next guy will want. It's a good time to move if you're somebody who's not sure on what your role will be. Not that Darian couldn't work for lots of people and has. I'm just But anyway. To the question from Matt C., why is the media only critical of donors and fans? I would not say that. I've been plenty critical of lots of coaches and people throughout time over at MSU, and even in this, it was very clear at the end, based on the reporting, especially after Haller was let go, just how there was a disconnect between what that job needed with the donors and him, and so that was why. And and that deserves criticism. Haller was not incompetent, though. I think that's just bullshit, because he was a really competent AD in a lot of ways. His ability to manage the donors and what they wanted didn't jive, and his ability to walk in their world a little bit wasn't his strength, but that far from incompetence. He was a guy who incompetence wouldn't have produced some of the coaching hires they had and some of the ideas he had, and he was not somebody who was he was a very competent athletic director, just not a complete athletic director for what you need right now, right? And so I think that's important. Critical of donors and fans, like, I do think you got to be careful of being critical of fans, but we do a show here where we're just, part of it's the amount of time we interact. Like, if we didn't do this show, I would never be critical of fans because I would never see, Well,
unless you do multiple Sirius XM interviews in 1 week.
I get on there and I just rip fans. I'm like, this fucking guy, Matt C. Fuck him. Like, that's my, but no, I'm kidding, obviously. So I do think we have to be careful of being honest, but not taking shots where it's easier, obviously, to take shots at people who you don't know personally than people you cover regularly. And I think that's something you got to be careful of. If you should never not criticize Alan Haller because you like the guy personally, or a coach because you want, you're around them all the time, and you should think of that with donors and fans. I think having a critique of some of the criticism, though, of just like you can have critiques of my criticisms of people or lack thereof, is fair. I think that's okay. That's fair game when you put yourself out there.
Matt C. Is John Noel Smith treating this year as an audition for his next job? His AD has been fired, and the recruiting is so bad it looks like he's planning to jump ship after Aiden Childs is done. All those give him time takes are going to look hilarious when he bolts.
I don't know that he. I guess if he had a really good year and there was another really good job he'd rather be at, and he thought there were limitations. If you're Michigan State, you don't want John L. Smith to bolt, because if he leaves, it means he had a good year because somebody else wants him. And it means he probably looked at the Michigan State job, and maybe there's just a job, UCLA or wherever in Washington, somewhere where he would rather be, and maybe his family would decide that. But if he did leave at some point, or if he were to leave after this year, it would be, I think, a lot, because he had a good year and he looked around and he said, I don't think this place is a place you can get it done. And that's what you don't want MSU to be. And I'm not saying MSU is that, but I think a lot of what we're all questioning right now is, in this new world, how much money is there? How much money does it take? And, I think there are a lot of schools like this. MSU isn't alone. But the frustrating thing for MSU is, within the last decade, they've been on a plane that is been elite. And so can they get back there, and can they play at this level? And we don't know yet.
Next one from Matt C. Would Jason be a better recruiter than John Noel Smith? He recruited Treese to marry him after getting so blacked out at a wedding that he couldn't hold his own junk. That takes talent.
It does. It does take talent.
Now, am I blacked out if I remember?
Yeah, you weren't blacked out.
The wedding? Like, I remember I do remember having to help me urinate, but I don't
I don't think you were blacked out.
I certainly blacked out when I got back, and passed out probably, but...
Yeah, I don't think you were blacked out. But it does take talent.
It does.
And it takes...
I don't know what I did.
Yeah, Therese just saying that she must have seen some good in you at some point.
Had to have.
Yeah.
Had to have. Money bag next. What's the point of the quote, NIL donors are dumb, end quote, rant? What? Nobody brags about their school having NIL. They brag about the wins they get on the field that NIL contributes to. It's a dumb game, but it's the same for everyone, and a lot of places have done it better than us.
People do brag about it. You do see it online. You do see fan bases fight. You don't have any money. You don't have this. We have. But what I'm saying, what's the point of it is, again, it was a late May Monday hot take, because we're going to do a show, and I was spending the day before, a Tuesday show, I guess it was, spending the day before cleaning up the basement and having deep thought. So that's where that came from. I'm not saying it's like, I wasn't shopping that one around to be like the next column I was going to write, but it was worthy of a take, and it is something I think, and I've sort of hinted at that throughout columns. I do think the idea that the expectation of money with very little return on investment, that anybody would expect that, and anybody who's been sophisticated with money their entire life would do it, is just about ridiculous. But then again, people want to see their team win, and right now it's the name of the game that you have to get outsiders to pay the salaries largely of your athlete. I mean, nobody would do that in a pro sports. It's an insane system right now. But yeah, it absolutely is something people brag about, and I've seen it.
Next one from Moneybag. How many receiving yards and touchdowns for Jack Velling this year? I need to know this as someone that bets props here. We still have college props for this upcoming season, right?
Yeah, and so
I'm the big Jack Velling sprinkle TD guy.
Are you? Like, I don't know.
I know.
I would be.
I did last year a couple times.
I would tell people, and obviously I'm not going to do it, but I would tell people the under if they're going the way. I just think like, and I want to be. I just don't know what his level is. I don't, because it just didn't show up last year, and that had something to do with circumstances around him. And I think he was humbled a little last year, and but I expected more from him last year, so I just don't know what we'll see this year. And I think he's in a very much a prove it.
So what did you expect before last season?
I knew he wasn't going to be the elite player, because if you're an elite player, you go to the NFL, right? So I knew, but I thought he was going to be just more of a security blanket, more of a somebody that was a consistent threat and part of the offense. And he was quite often disappeared, and some of that, again, may be quarterback play. So some of that might have been, there are lots of reasons for it, but he was not an impressive debut season, and I think he would tell you that. And so the question is then, what is his actual level? And that's what we don't know yet. But based on what he's shown, whatever the over/under is, I would go under until he proves otherwise.
Dave Bearwaldy next. Appreciate the show, guys. Graham, what, if anything, have you heard regarding Dan Bartholomew as a candidate for MSU AD? He's certainly done some good things over the past few years at Western.
So I know that there were donors in that area from Kalamazoo who wanted him, right? Who wanted him to be considered, and I'm not sure to what degree. He's a guy who's considered a sharp guy and all that stuff. Mid-major AD, it's not that you can't make that jump. It's a little different game now, not entirely, and if you're really good at dealing with big donors, and they have some at Western Michigan, like, we talk about the idea that an AD has to understand that you're never the most important person. You're never more important than, say, Matt Ishbia, right? And in Kalamazoo, you deal with that with Bill Johnston. And so, you've dealt with that to some degree. But I don't know. I've not heard his name. I've people they may be zeroing in on. I've not heard it's him. But I've only heard good things about him. I just don't think it's going to be him.
Tim Rhodes, how to fix the foul problems in college basketball. Let them keep playing after they pick up their fifth foul, but all fouls by that person result in a one-shot technical and they get possession. Or just fix the incredibly bad refereeing.
I don't think this is enough of a thing. Like, they can keep playing, but all fouls by that person result in one time. It's just not enough. You'd keep people in it. It would get, fouls have to be punitive. I'm just saying one more. Get
and then
it
if you're
6.
a coach, you have to make sure which guy is the one to get the technical. Like, it's just.
Man, I think there are easy ways to do it. I think you at least let one guy go to 6 every game, or you go everybody to go to 6.
C-Dubs, if college basketball goes to 6 fouls, does that mean the NBA should go to 7?
No, not really. I mean, you've seen some foul outs here, and I understand that it's 40 minutes versus 48 and all that stuff, and so the maths. But, like, it's just a different game. It's a more physical, condensed game on the court that, when you have 5 fouls as the foul out, 2 fouls makes people get jittery and coaches bench guys. And look, there's a lot of evidence that says coaches shouldn't bench players, especially if they trust that player with 2 fouls. Sometimes you can't trust the ref, though. And what do you do in that circumstance, right? If a ref makes a bad call for a 3rd foul, now you're really in trouble. And so that's why you got to go to 6, or at least have one guy who can get there. And I don't believe the NBA needs to go to 7.
C-Dubs91, how is Dunham's sponsoring things at Comerica Park, let alone still being open in general? That's a great question. I was next to a Dunham's yesterday, and I was like, wait a minute.
They're doing all right. Well, I feel
There's one in St. John's by me. I mean,
I feel like you need a few good sporting good places, and a lot of them have gone out of business, but there's always going to be a need for a certain amount. So if you're one that survives and can weather it, you might have a chance, right?
I guess.
It's a discount sports, right?
Have you been to Dunham's? Like
It's been a while, but I feel like I bought a pair of football cleats there a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. So they can sustain a business by a guy every once in a while needs to buy football cleats.
Well,
That's 40.
I wear size 14 shoes.
Jesus.
And because I wear size 14 shoes, not a lot of places don't have them. Like I can't walk into I went to Dick's Sporting Goods to try and get soccer cleats, don't have them. They didn't have soccer cleats at Dunham's.
Yeah, sir, we don't have monster sizes here. We have normal people shoes here.
And so I took football cleats to wear because I needed cleats, and I wear them for softball.
So you wear a size 14, you go, I need some shoes. Let me just go to the store. Like you buy now at your age, you don't like.
There's some places I love because, I order some things online, but like Playmakers, it actually makes life easy. If you walk into a store that you know has your size, you don't have to make a lot of choices. Like I walk into Playmakers and I'm like, I'll take what you have in a size 14, and they bring me 5 shoes, and I get to choose.
They go to the Mongoloid section. Well, Dunham's, they have that clearance thing where that's where usually the size 15s and 16s are and everything.
Yeah, sometimes they have freak shoes over there. Yeah, it's no.
Damn, dude. I didn't know. 14. Well, I got wear 13s, I guess. C-Dubs, who is the best youth soccer coach at the LSJ, and why is it Brian Calloway?
Ouch, that's painful. Callaway at least has a child he's coaching. Yeah, right. So that's better than what I did. I would argue though, if
Couch
you
takes people's cats, and
if you were to interview those 6-year-olds 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now, whatever year it was, that I would be up there. I was pretty good. I got a very nice letter from a couple of the kids, and they were very nice. So
they're forced to write that, though.
That's true. It is.
I don't know if I brag about that.
That's probably not something I should brag about.
Thank that guy, so in case he comes back, he doesn't kidnap you first.
If you want to say, you want to thank the youth soccer coach in your life, by the way, Groovy Donuts is a great way to do it. Nobody brought me Groovy Donuts, would have loved it. If Brian Calloway's coaching your team or anybody's coaching your team, last game of the year, Groovy Donuts. They will be thrilled. Usually, too, those games are like Saturday mornings. Perfect time. Groovy Donuts is open Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Williamston location and Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing. Put a nice assortment together and also get yourself some. Or just take a couple out. They'll never know they're missing as long as you don't make too many crumbs. There's some real, there's some tricks to it. But Groovy Donuts, let the soccer coach in your life, or you're starting to think about Father's Day, whatever it might be, Groovy Donuts is here to improve how people think of you and make people feel special and loved, because Groovy Donut brings joy to people's lives.
The last one from Z-Dubs. What is your most random famous person encounter? Mine was seeing Carl Anthony Towns in Florence, Italy, outside of the museum where the David statue is. His security said no photos, and I'm a rule follower, so I didn't even try to take a picture of him from afar. Hashtag story almost worth telling.
Yeah, almost presented by Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
That's a pretty good story. I still would have taken. I would have told the security guy to kiss my ass and just taken a photo. Really, no photos of Carl Anthony Towns. He's got that.
What's the most random famous person encounter you've had?
Random, as if you're just somewhere and
you're somewhere and you see
there. I don't think I've ever really had one. To where it's been random, where I was at a store or something, or like I was traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever randomly seen a celebrity. It's all been regular encounters, I think.
I've had a few, but the ones I remember very specific. I mean, I had this L.A. trip when I was 23 years old, when I was working in Freeport, Illinois, by the way.
Kidding.
Yeah. And I went out there with met some friends, and we did L.A. and Vegas, and back when you could do that for like $600 somehow. And ran into, in the same trip, Kelsey Grammer in the airport. Not Kelsey Grammer. Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue.
All right.
Which was...
great show.
Yeah, incredible. And
Jake Hawkins loves that show.
And his wife, by the way, Sharon Lawrence from NYPD Blue, is married to Tom Apostle, who's a Couch of the Rube listener. And
look at you name dropping.
Yeah, yeah, and
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyway, so beyond that, I ran into Banyan from Seinfeld.
Oh,
it's gold, Jerry. It's gold. He was at a club we were at. Ran into John Lovitz at a restaurant, all on the same trip. Ran into Mr. Belding at a club that was really, really weird, because it was a club with a lot of younger people, and we were like 23, and like the guy who played Mr. Belding was in line at this club.
Yeah.
So I've had a few.
I have one.
Okay.
I have one. I forgot about this. Las Vegas, early 2000s. We were broke as hell, so we had to check out early out of the hotel, and our flight wasn't until the afternoon, so we were just loitering at Caesar's Palace. And all of a sudden, I was like walking to the bathroom, and I ran into Reggie Jackson. and I'm sorry I forgot this, but I just jogged my memory, you saying celebrity names. I ran into Reggie Jackson, not like bumped or anything, but I just go, holy shit, that's Reggie Jackson. And he just like stared at me like, do you want an autograph or something? Like this was before great phones, so there wasn't really a picture problem there, but he was kind of looking like, and then I was like, that's it. I don't know. Like, I didn't know what else to do. I don't know what to do around any celebrities whatsoever. And Reggie Jackson, Mr. October.
Yeah.
I mean, my God.
Not the Pistons, Reggie Jackson.
No.
The real celebrity. Yeah.
The legend.
Yeah, no, and at least you handled it better than you did the John Daly situation.
No, it was about the same.
Yeah.
They both gave me the same, like, nothing look. Looked right through me, and yeah.
Those are stories we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. A place you may run into a celebrity, you may not, but you'll get an incredible meal. You'll have a great drink. Just a great vibe, place with good character, good place for a date night. 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing.
Original, Dark Mantonio. Who do you think will get drafted higher, Jace Richardson or Danny Wolf? And is your answer the same as it was before the Combine?
Yeah, I don't think the Combine did a whole lot to teams. I mean, again, they're measuring without shoes. You had to know Jace Richardson wasn't the tallest guy. When you look at some of the draft projections, they're both, in similar places, so I have no idea. Both are unique players in certain way. I don't know, unique is the right word, but they're both interesting players, interesting NBA players. Both have, not complete. Jace Richardson's size is an issue. Wolf, defensively, you wonder how he'll, but they can do some things that I don't know. I think make them interesting pros, and so it really it's in the eye of the beholder. But I think both are probably in that upper teen range. You might see them, and I don't know who goes first.
Original, Jason, did Ebeling eventually text you back after you sent your response text?
What was this about? Oh, last time, we talked about it.
Jack texted me. It was a Knicks pun.
That's right.
He did send me another text, but it was another punny, trivia question thing. I was like, okay.
It wasn't about Wenzel Perez?
It was not.
Wenzel?
It was an NBA, something or other.
Okay.
Anyway, Original, what happened to Spartan Confidential on M Live? On a side note, are Aiden Champion and Brandon Champion related?
I do not know. Spartan Confidential was a podcast that was Matt Wenzel, by the way, we just mentioned, and
you mean Wenzel Perez
and Kyle Austin, and then Brandon Champion. And Kyle Austin left them live and was no longer on the MSU beat for a while at the end there. So I think that's when it ended. So that was
when they started charging a monthly fee to check out their stuff.
No, but I think they made a mistake with Kyle, and anyway, I'm still a little not thrilled with the way that went down, and. Luckily, Matt is still around because not only is he a neighbor, but he's a friend, and he's fun to have on the beat. But I miss Kyle.
Tyler Simons next. Will you guys be playing the new college football 2026 video game?
Probably not. I'm just not a video games guy anymore.
I tried last year.
Yeah?
I bought an Xbox and everything.
And didn't take.
I played 3 games.
Yeah. That was it?
I did. Yeah, I was Michigan State. I beat Michigan 42-0. I sent a screen grab to my friend, Michigan fan Jordan, and then I played 2 more games. And then I just started playing PGA golf, and then it just sits there. Yeah, I shouldn't have done it, but I was really excited because in the early 2000s, 04, 05, that was like our big deal is playing college football. Those like early 2000s years. So I got excited for it last year.
I think it's is in terms of like vices go as an adult. I think it's a pretty healthy vice as long as obviously you can control it.
I don't know.
Well, to some degree,
it's out of control, man.
Yeah, but I'd rather put $20 on a tennis match and watch that. That's sort of where I'm at in terms of hobbies.
John, Jason calls in a favor, and a trough is secured for Graham to adorn his home. How would Graham get this home and installed? And how long would it last before Elizabeth made Graham take it back?
Well, it depends where we put it.
Absolutely not, dude.
Because there are, if she was traveling for work, I could get this done.
Yes. You would need her out of the house.
I need her out of the house because it makes too much noise, and I'd have to bring somebody in to do it. Because if we were actually to install something like that ourselves, she would be the person that'd have to do it. And so we have a downstairs and upstairs. We have 2 full baths. In the trough, we'd have to move some stuff, some plumbing, but we could make it work in the bathroom that I use most. I could probably. There's a chance there have probably been months where she has not gone in the downstairs bathroom because she uses primarily the upstairs bathroom, and I use the downstairs and. I don't know, just based on habit. There are other times where she would see it right away. So it is possible I could get it installed and she would come home and not notice it for a month. But the first time we had company, I would be outed and it would be removed.
I wish this podcast made money so I could take a part of mine and actually make this happen. Just for the reaction.
Just to have one.
Yeah.
I might be able to put it in the back of the garage, behind the garage, but she would be mortified that I was like peeing in public back there. I don't know. I don't know where. I don't think it could happen.
Dino Spumoni next. In Jim Harbaugh's second year, 2016, Michigan was the trouble with a snap play away from a playoff. Prior to Dusty May's second season, he has what should be a top 10 preseason roster. Aren't Spartan fans very justified to be worried about where Jonathan Smith has this program right now?
Okay, two things. One, he didn't say the trouble with the snap play away from the playoff. I was thinking that's what he meant. I didn't know what he meant. He just had like a...
You were speaking for Dino Spumoni?
Well, it said JT. I don't know what this is. I thought maybe, and then I realized that's 2015. So I don't know. But either way, they were very close to the playoff.
Goodness.
You got to spell things out. We're not bright and don't have great memories. But anyway, the idea is, aren't Spartan fans worried to be justified to be worried where Jonathan Smith has the program right now? I'd say this. So you're talking about year 2, Jonathan Smith, Jim Harbaugh. But I would say that we haven't seen year 2 out of Jonathan Smith. And that's sort of what I'm asking people, is give him year 2 before you really form, even in today's day and age when, you got to speed up the building process. You can do it through the transfer portal. And there's some evidence that things aren't great at Michigan State in terms of that stuff right now. Minimum, you give a coach the second season to see what he does with a team and a roster. And, because all of a sudden if things are looking a little bit better, maybe some of that other stuff gets easier. And, if there's the ability to fundraise, then you're fine. I'd say this. No coach is going to win an MSU if they can't, raise the funds to compete with the top schools. If that's not there, and if it's going to be there for another coach, then it should be there for Jonathan Smith if he's a good coach. If he shows this fall, for example, they show notable progress, and they look like a competent staff. And again, the last 5 games of last year were not promising. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. I'm just saying give a guy year 2, and then before you worry your pretty little mind with what's going on.
Next one from Dino. Who is Justin Spiro, and why does he always tweet about Michigan?
Well, he's an MSU fan.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Who cares? Who has his own show and podcast, and he's an MSU fan who likes to point out some of the hypocrisy with Michigan. It's one of his hobbies. It's clearly a hobby because he spends a lot of time on it, and he enjoys the research and holding receipts on Michigan stuff. So to each their own, and that's
sounds exhausting.
It does seem, but
to be honest,
yeah, he does seem like one of those people who has a receipt on you, though. So I would always keep that in mind. Solari is the same way. Like Solari can find things on social media that you don't want to ever cross Solari. It's dangerous.
Graham.
Sparty Barb. Now that Jase Richardson is officially committed to the NBA draft, what are the chances MSU recruits a high-level European player? And why was the coaching staff in Europe?
So I think at this point it's very likely that the roster is pretty much set. Maybe additional, walk on looks, Wojcik's kid or something. But nothing really is. But there was an Israeli guard. There was an English center. There were a couple guys they were looking at. I don't know to what degree you're referring to Europe and who they were looking. But there were a couple players they were looking at, and I think the roster is pretty much set. But you never know when there's something else, especially when you deal with international players. Things could happen later. But my understanding is things are going to be quiet.
Maddie B next. Will we actually get coverage from the Freep on the Michigan NCAA infractions meeting? Or will they just take the school's word for it like they did with Jeff Jackson? Remember, Jawan looked him in the eye and he promised he wouldn't do it again. Seriously, how is there no follow-up on that?
I think this is a big event. I think this will be covered. It is. Yeah, they're gonna.
Welcome to the blue wall.
They're not going to let them in the meeting, and I don't know how quickly that information will come out. And some of the stuff. One of the challenges I'm sure the Detroit Free Press writers have, especially those, in the news and to what degree you're sourced with the NCAA, because that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. By the way, it's that side of things, and sometimes national folks have better sourcing there. Than you would if you're on a specific beat, and so it's challenging and you're playing catch-up.
Matty B, you say Izzo is a recruiting advantage, but then we can't go after big transfers because we'd have to give everyone a raise. But then Izzo has money if he needs it. Okay, so why don't we go after a big fish and give guys like Jackson Kohler and Jeremy Fears bigger raises? I'm tired of our program being the premier program of the last 30 years, and yet our rival down the road appears to give more of a shit.
Well, that's how you do. I mean, they didn't sell out the Maryland game, and I'll keep bringing that up because that's a telling moment. Now, but they have had money to build a roster through the portal, and there's no question about that, and that's been impressive. And again, so let's say you wanted to do that if you were Izzo. Say there's a player out there that wants $2 million, and to do that, you probably and again, a certain type of proven player can be paid more than your guys you have, but you need to bring up Kohler and Fears and Cohen Carr to well over $1 million. Say now they need to be at 1.5. You need to double their salaries or whatever, and now you're looking at and that's the precedent. Now that's the level. That's the starting point for those guys. What do you do next year and can you afford that in terms of what you get from the revenue share, which is only going to be between $3 and $4 million for basketball, by the way. This year is an anomaly in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I think basketball is going to be fascinating on this subject a year from now because basketball does not bring in the money people think it brings in. It is not football. The only reason there is revenue sharing is football. And so basketball is going to get, at most any place, a 20% of the revenue sharing. And football is going to get 90% of it. And so that, how much money is there actually? Now you got to go outside to do it, and what's that going to look like? I mean, I think I don't blame Izzo entirely for this. Now you can argue that maybe there was a bigger swing to make with a shooting guard elsewhere, and I think if Jace Richardson would want to come back, you would have seen that. You would have seen that sort of money into somebody. But I think it's also delicate, and you can lose a roster, and dying trying is not just talent acquisition. And we've seen that. And we've seen some of the guys that are on other programs that have won big, that came from smaller programs that wound up being really good gets. I'm not going to tell you not to be disappointed. There's not a more proven big-time wing or two-guard there, but there isn't. So,
are we on Sirius XM?
Long-winded, what you're saying? Is it a little? I can take a hint.
Some dude. Isn't Tom Izzo really rich? Suppose he wants a backup / utility big man for, say, $300,000. Can he just fund it himself instead of asking donors?
Yeah, probably not directly, but yeah, he could absolutely funnel that money somewhere and get it. Yeah, could do it for sure.
And someone finds out.
Unfortunately, Tom Izzo is also probably smarter. He would actually, to your point though, some dude, return on investment. Izzo would actually see return on investment. Not just in bonuses, but in winning so coaches would actually get return on their investment.
Oh, there you go. John Naughty next. Is Rick Derringer's music the biggest loss of 2025? He wrote Hulk Hogan's theme song, Real American. Please play a clip of Real American. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're running out of time here, John. I got to get to these.
Maybe we'll get it set for Monday's show. Really, I didn't.
Yeah, save this for Mondays.
Yeah.
John, do you think MSU gleefully self-reported Mel Tucker's alleged NCAA violations to gain advantage in the lawsuit, i.e., just cause to fire?
I thought about this, and a while ago, and I don't know all the circumstances, but in terms of why they self-reported and when, but I think they self-reported because they realized there was a violation. But it doesn't hurt truly if somebody who's under Tucker's. I do not think this was Mel Tucker specifically. And again, I don't know all the details of it. From what I understand, this is the staffer, but it's still his program. And certainly it's one more thing. I don't think that was, but in terms of gleefully, were they disappointed that it happened under I'm sure they were happy it happened under the previous coaching staff, though, for sure.
John, given everything we know now about the entire program down the road, in 2025, what's a Michigan man?
You want to do the Michigan man voice?
I am a real American, fighting for rights of every man. Isn't that the Hulk Hogan theme song?
Yeah.
Skylar Verdon.
I would like to be a Michigan man, by the way. I like what I don't understand is why you have to be a University of Michigan person to be I'm a Michigan man. We're all Michigan men. If you live in the Mitten, you get to be a Michigan man. I don't like that they've taken that. But what is a Michigan man? A Michigan man to me is it can be anything. But in terms of if you to me it's fine to be a Michigan man, a University of Michigan man. But you need to be somebody who understands that nobody's infallible. Like if you look at somebody. It's like a cult following and nothing they do can be wrong, then then that's not great. But I think it's okay to be a Michigan man, especially if you're just from Michigan.
Oh, Jesus, what an answer. Skylar Verdon, one thing that stops me from getting into European soccer is that only one or two teams can realistically ever win each league. I'm then told there are lots of other things to win in European soccer, and winning the league isn't everything, and I'm just a dumb American. So which one is it, Graham? I understand to an extent what you are saying about Tottenham, but it just feels like you are moving the goalposts for a team you don't like.
Well, it's true. I do move the goalposts for Tottenham because I hate them. No, look, there are other things to win in European soccer, and depending where you are in the totem pole, those things can have great meaning. And so I get, and I think in most leagues there's more parity than you think these days. It's not just one or two teams. In English soccer, we're seeing that. We're seeing that in Italy. We're seeing that. There are real powerhouses year in and year out. So give it a shot. Don't let that be what keeps you out of it.
Shep, I watched the Netflix doc Untold, the shooting guards about the Gilbert Arenas Washington Wizards guns in the locker room story. It's a good watch, as is the one about the colossal piece of shit Brett Favre.
Yeah, I think I'll have to watch that. Have you watched either?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. There's a
thanks.
Good Netflix show called Running Point, by the way, which is based on running a.
Are you fucking kidding?
Have you seen Running Point?
Dude, you think that's a great show?
That's a good show.
There's no way.
It's very Ted Lasso. It's a good show. It's a good show. Have you seen it?
No.
Well,
I've seen the preview.
Well, then you haven't seen shit. You don't know anything.
I know good. Yeah, I know good.
How come
programs.
maybe you didn't ask what I don't like about my co-host?
That I don't watch shit television. All right. Shep, NBA reporter Peter Vesey is interviewed. Holy shit, what a douchebag. He was like an SNL skit about a dork reporter that thinks he's the main character, but he was actually serious. Are all of these national writers like Windhorst, Woj, etc. complete tools that think they are actually celebrities? Are any actually cool, down-to-earth people?
I know some national writers who are cool, down-to-earth people. I don't know those guys personally that well. Woj is somebody who I have an issue with because I believe he was behind ESPN letting go a friend of mine who I think is really talented and is a national person who's an awesome guy, and Nick Friedel. So like I have an issue there. I know a lot of people like Woj, and I think some people say he's a great guy. So I know
Peter Vesey a little bit. I've communicated with Peter. He's a very, very nice guy, but I can also understand why people wouldn't like him, and I think Peter Vesey would understand that as well. Because that's what his whole shtick has been since the early 90s. Yeah. Finally, Sinner's Dog 97. Who's next up to give the MSU fan base a lecture? Solari? Stephen Brooks? A player's parent? I'd like to know in advance so I can take proper notes.
I will ask on the group chat today. We'll ask, I think...
Graham. The
American way.
I think it may be Matt Wenzel's turn.
Graham.
Yeah, definitely Matt Wenzel. Matt Wenzel's up for the lecture. Be prepared for that. He'll try and do it carefully and with tact. We appreciate all of you guys. I hope it doesn't come across like I'm ever lecturing, and it probably does sometimes because I'm a douchebag and an asshole and an asshat and all those things. I apologize for myself. We appreciate all of you for producing our show and for listening and hanging with us. We of course appreciate our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app. We appreciate Front 43 and Cask & Company, Midtown Brewing Company, just all great places. Groovy Donuts, of course, make them part of your weekend or any weekend, or if you're going to an open house or whatever it might be, Groovy Donuts. And we'll be back Monday and do some takes. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.